5 Minutes at Candy's is one of the earliest FNaC fan games, and part of the Fanverse initiative. If you go back and play the games now, you might notice they're stupidly easy and boring. That's where Evil Wacko comes in with his FNaC But Better series, where he aims to make the games much harder and less luck-based. A few mechanics that should be kept in mind: in order to see on cameras, you must double-click to enable night vision. Most characters leave instantly after closing the door. And finally, power drain is linear, unlike the original 5 Minutes at Candy's. Now to go over every character's base mechanic on 20 AI, with the simplest being Rat and Candy. Rat and Candy work the exact same way, with similar paths to either the left or right door. Once Candy reaches the door, you'll see his eyes glow, while Rat doesn't have glowing eyes, so you'll have to track him on the cameras with night vision. I think this is a good time to bring up how characters can block and override each other on the cameras. When a character tries to enter cameras with a certain other character, the one behind will just wait for the first one to move. In the case of Chester and Old Candy, where they have conflicting mechanics but similar paths, Old Candy takes priority visually and stalls Chester. Now back to Candy and Rat. They'll both wait at your door for 6 seconds before jamming it, then shortly jump scaring you. Fun fact, they never go the same path twice. Now into Penguin.
Can I take your order?
He's very simple, following the same right path as Rat and Candy, except if he manages to get into your office, he'll close a random door on 10-second intervals.
Can I take your order?
Instead of jump scaring you. Unlike the original Candy's game, he cannot open already closed doors. Now, in my opinion, Cindy is one of the most annoying characters in this game. She leaves the stage on cam 01 after 24 to 30 seconds, then quickly makes her way to your right door. If you stare at her in the cams for 1 second, she gets reset back to the stage. If she reaches your door though, she'll sit there for 10 seconds before bonking, wasting a lot of power. Old Candy is probably inadvertently responsible for 90% of my deaths in this game. He starts at the spare parts room at the top left, following every camera Candy or Rat went on the left paths. He also doesn't have glowing eyes, but instead plays a low humming sound when he reaches your door. His biggest difference is how long he waits at the door is a direct 1-to-1 of how long you watched him on the cameras, resetting after bonking on your door. So for the sake of your power, watch him as little as possible and use the process of elimination to know if cameras are safe or not. For example, remember how I said characters block each other? Well, if Old Candy is on Chester's first cam, then he blocks Rat and Candy from going left. So now you know not to check any of the left cameras until you hear his audio cue. Next character is Blank. Blank occupies the top middle camera, where you can watch him progress through stages similar to Foxy. Once he leaves his camera, you'll have 5 seconds to watch him in the camera in front of the window to start his animation. Then you must close the middle door before it ends. If you close the door without watching him and his 5 seconds of grace end, then he'll sound the last frame of his animation, smashing the window instantly when you open the door. He can't be slowed or stalled by watching him. The only purpose the cameras play is to track his progress, but most people just time his intervals with a timer. Our last character is Chester. After 10 seconds past the start of the night, he will leave his curtain. Now, a 50-second timer will start ticking down, but the amount of time you have increases while you're actively watching him. Once that timer hits 0 though, he moves to his next camera. Which, for whatever reason, his last 2 phases before reaching your door are 48 seconds instead of 50. Now that we have all the character mechanics out of the way, time for a regular 720 mode. At the start of the night, start your timer and wait till 10 seconds in. That's when Chester is active. Stare at him on cam 9, but quickly check cams 6 and 4 every 3 to 5 seconds for Penguin, Candy, or Rat. Eventually, Old Candy will appear on Chester's cam around 15 to 23 seconds in. If it helps use a second timer, as advised. First blank interval should be coming up, so be ready to check cam 5 to start his animation. Eventually, Old Candy will reach the door, just close on him and wait for him to go away. Once he leaves, immediately check all of Cindy's cameras, since she'll most likely be active around the 30-second mark. This is essentially the whole cycle, but a few tips I'd give is to have a list of priorities and be fast. This game rewards speed. You should also memorize some blank intervals so they don't sneak up on you, and keep in mind how he can get offset because of his 5-second grace period. And Old Candy can be offset from Cindy depending on how long you stared at him. One more big thing for Chester: if you know you just dealt with Rat and Candy, then feel free to stare at Chester for an extra long time. Finally, power outages will last exactly 25 seconds, so you can force a power outage at 5 minutes and 35 seconds. Then you don't have to play the last 25 seconds of the night. Now you've beaten regular 720, time for blood changes. Blood Rat is simple. Instead of reaching the door as his final phase, his last phase is when you see him on cams 03 and 07. Blood Candy has two big changes. One, his eyes don't glow, and two, he gains a middle path to the window. Blood Penguin starts off in the office, closes doors every 10 seconds, just like his non-blood equivalent.
Can I take your order?
Blood Cindy's two changes are that her eyes don't glow similar to Bloody Candy's, and she never leaves the door when she reaches it. Probably the hardest change is Blood Old Candy's. Regular Old Candy's door wait timer usually resets after bonking on it, but Blood Old Candy's timer doesn't. They can wait longer and longer throughout the night based on how long you look at them. Blood Blank removes Blank's 5-second grace period, replacing with a grace period that's a 1-to-1 of how long you stared at him on cam 11 prior to him leaving.
Actually, no. Scholarly talent, I did what was required.
So make sure you get at least 2 seconds of blank watch time before each blank interval so you have time to deal with Candy. Also remember, if Candy just went down his middle path, he won't do it a second time in a row. Finally, Blood Chester will cause an instant power outage the second you reach the door. This doesn't change much since him reaching the door pretty much meant a power outage already, but now it's instant. Now for Blood 720 strat. It's essentially the same as regular 720, but you cycle through cams 03, 05, and 07. If you see Candy on cam 03 or 07, then be ready to close the door on him when he disappears. Characters can't move back, so he's guaranteed to be at your door. If you see him on cam 05, then instantly close the middle door. Close the door on Rat if you see him on cams 07 or 03. And pay extra attention to cam 03, he's pretty hard to see. If you have time, watch Blank a bit and be ready for his intervals since they're much less forgiving. You're also going to want to green run this mode as much as you can. Power is the biggest issue for me, resulting in many losses past 5 AM. Finally, just relax. This mode will make you mad and characters feel like they just teleport to your door randomly, but it's essential to keep your cool throughout the night. Now for the winning attempt.
Was it? That should be it. That should be it. That was 536.
Yeah, that's it.
I did it. Yes. Finally.